if I had not been in that situation, I don't know if I would have had the same drive to make my business work.
When you're planning a business, you need to plan for growth. You need to plan for, all right, next year. And even when you're going to action those goals now, you need to always be thinking ahead.
Can you imagine, growing a business, making it multi-million, billion, whatever, and then getting fired from your own business? That is mad.
Every situation, there's no excuse. Every situation, you can always win off any situation. And the reason I believe that is because it's been done in the past.
Welcome back to another episode of Book Reviews with Ty and Fly. I go by Ty.
Yes, what's happening? It's Mr. Fly.
Yo, so this month we have 0 to 1. The book here, 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. This was my selection this month. And the reason I picked it, shout out to Jason. Jason actually was having a book clearance, and this was one of the books that I got off of Jason. And I saw that in the book he's made loads of notes in it. I was like, yeah, cool. Let's give this one a whirl. It's a business book, and yeah, we'll get into it. In fact, I think Elon Musk even on the back. Elon Musk.
That's not surprising though.
Yeah, so. Peter Thiel has built multiple breakthrough companies, and 0 to 1 shows how. That's from Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. This book delivers completely new and refreshing ideas on how to create value in the world. And so yeah, it's had some good recommendations or testimonials from obviously two of the most influential people in the world, I guess. Or
to some degree, but
to some degree, anyway. Yeah,
they're boys. As you know what I mean, as we'll get into the book, so it's like
yeah, they're boys.
straight from the jump. Yeah, did you like this book?
Straight from the jump. No. Straight from the jump. No. Do you know what? No. Let me not be harsh. Because straight from the jump. All right. I didn't enjoy the read. I didn't read it and read every page and think, oh yeah, I'm loving this. But once I've gone back through everything, I'm like, oh, actually, no, this book does have some gems. And some good reminders, which we're going to come into. But the way it was presented was not, it didn't flow as much. But yeah, let's go.
I don't know, man. I felt like it was like just a notebook of his musings. Like it was just very random to me, man. Then I think there's value in everything. There's always value in everything, We go back to the Jordan Peterson book. I forget the chapter, but there's value. The reason I'm bringing that up is because he said like there's always value to take from conversations, even with someone you might think or things you might think are not worthwhile. There's value of it, so you just have to find it. So there's value in everything. But yeah, I just can't, like, similar to yourself. I didn't enjoy this book. I found it quite random in the chapters. There was, because it talks about kind of jumping back and forth a little bit, but. You mentioned Elon Musk, and obviously he mentioned the PayPal mafia, and I don't know if I've heard of that before. Have you heard of that about them?
No, the PayPal mafia. No.
Basically, I think it's like 6 of them, and I think Elon Musk was one of them. The guy, one of the co-founders of Coinbase, is also one of them. And he talks about in the book. He listed the names. I may have written the names down, but they are the ones that founded PayPal, or they were like the startups of PayPal. Obviously, this Peter Thiel is one of the co-founders of PayPal. But all of those people that were involved in PayPal in the early stages have all gone on to like be billionaires or so. And Musk is obviously one of them. Mark Zuckerberg isn't, to my knowledge. No, he's not. But so that's why I was just saying it's like it's not surprising that Elon Musk would say it's a good book because they're boys. Basically.
Well, actually, he didn't say it was a good book. He gassed up Peter Thiel. He didn't in his testimonial. He didn't, which I found very telling, actually. But after I read the book, because I saw like this is recommended by Zuckerberg and Thiel, and then I thought, Musk was clever with his words because he said nothing about the book in his testimonial. Cool. So cool. But I did like a lot of things from the book. There were lots of things that I took from it, and at the very, very start, it brought me back to a question, and the question was, what important truth do very few people believe you on? And I just love this question.
Yeah.
Because my one is which I kind of stole, was that disadvantage can be used as an advantage. And not many people will believe me that this being disadvantaged has benefits, but being disadvantaged in one way or another can be used as an advantage. And I'll come back to my same old story. The loyal subs on the channel know that starting my business, I was sleeping on the sofa at my dad's while growing my business. If I had not been in that situation, I don't know if I would have had the same drive to make my business work. That encouraged me and pushed me, and that was, in my eyes, some form of disadvantage, and that pushed me and encouraged me. So that helped me. That was an advantage to me, really. But what important truth do very few people believe you on?
That's I knew you was gonna, because I knew that was a good part of the book. That was one of the few things that was actually like, it's like
the second sentence.
Yeah. And then I think he brings it up again later on in the book, and it got me thinking. And funny enough, I was watching Steve Bartlett's interview with Diary of a CEO podcast. And he was actually interviewing the guy, one of the co-founders of Coinbase. And at the end, very, very quickly, at the end of every episode, they ask the last guest writes a question for the new guest. So the question that he got asked, the last person who was on before him wrote, was that question. And I thought, that's quite interesting, because obviously I'm reading this book and blah. But even, I say all that to say, I don't have an answer. And I'm trying, I was really, because when I read it, I knew we'd speak about this, because if you didn't bring it up, I was going to bring it up. And then I was like, what do I believe that is a bit controversial or contrarian or whatnot? So, and I've been, I agree with what you're saying, so I could just steal yours and say, I agree as well on that. But that's really original. That's what I'm saying. But it's not really contrarian. All right, this is something that I believe. I don't think it's that contrarian, but it's like every situation, there's no excuse. Every situation, you can always win off any situation, and the reason I believe that is because it's been done in the past. If someone's in a situation where they've lost their job, for example, they can go and turn that into a win, basically. And the reason I say that is because people have done it before. That's why I believe it's like, so if I'm in a situation, I'm struggling, and I'm like, this is hard, whatever, I will look and think, well, someone else has won off this, someone else's, and that's a bit binary in the sense of it's like, okay, that's quite a simplistic answer because there's different circumstances and X, Y, Z. Yes, but the fact remains that any situation you can look through and think, this has happened, this is going wrong for me. Someone else has been in that exact same situation and they've made whatever decisions or done whatever they need to do, and they've managed to win or leverage or progress off that situation. And that's something that I believe, because it's true. Well, I think it's true. But again, if you could break it down into like,
do you think the mass society doesn't think that's true? Do you think the majority of people won't believe you on that?
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I don't know if that's really contrarian truth. Like if that's something that's contrarian, I don't know. I think some people would argue, because again, it's easy to talk to, like when we're talking like as in general terms. But let's say now I sat down. I don't know what film it is. I saw a clip of a film and they were making people redundant, and George Clooney was the actor and there was another actor, and they sat down and he was saying to him, we're making you redundant for whatever reason. And then he was like, I'm 45. The guy who was getting made redundant was like, I'm 45. I've got no dreams and I can't do nothing about this job. And then George Clooney's character was like, well, look, when you were younger, what did you want to do? Did you want to be a drummer? So he kind of made him feel like, oh yes, I can do this. But I think the reason I'm saying that is because I think if we're using this redundancy as an example, I was made redundant, my mum was made redundant, and at that moment, I could have gone one of two ways. My mum could have gone one of two ways. My mum now runs a successful business that she set up. So, but there's other people that may have been in that situation that it may have had a bigger negative impact on them, whatever. Do you know what I mean? So the reason I'm saying all that is because generally people might agree But then when it goes down to that situation, you now have to make a decision as to what you want to do or how you're going to kind of leverage off that situation. It might be like, then you could easily, and the thing is, the excuses are believable. Oh, I've just lost my job. I've got to pay my mortgage. I've got to look after my children. X, Y, Z. I'm not going to turn around and say to you, oh, no, well, wait, you better just pattern up because da-da-da-da-da. You see what I mean? So I think in general terms, people would agree with it, but when it gets down to them, it's down to more the character of the person, whether they'd be like, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to now just try and level up or to come back stronger.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's contrarian or not, but
yeah, okay. Mindset and perspective. Were there any chapters that you thought, this chapter I really like?
You know what? Towards the end, so there was a chapter about it was the one seeing green, and this is like I think the second to last chapter, if not the the second to last chapter.
Seeing green,
yeah, it was about the green energy, clean energy.
Oh yes, yeah.
Clean energy. So just to quickly summarize that chapter, it was talking about in the beginning of the 21st century, there were a lot of green, sustainability. Now it's kind of come back, or it's still here now. Sustainability, eco-friendly, X, Y, Z. And I think the trend at the time was people were just thinking, oh, we could just create a company that's, good for the environment, and then people were going to buy into that. But then Peter Thiel talks about there's different questions that you need to ask yourself. It's like there's key questions that you need to ask yourself when you're setting up a business in regards to these clean energy companies, but these questions can actually apply to any business. I'll quickly just rattle through them now. He referred to it as the clean tech bubble because it was a bubble at the time. The engineering question. So can you create a breakthrough technology that's not just an incremental improvement? So something that's breakthrough, something that's a game changer, not just something that's like a little small improvement. That's one. Then the timing question, is the timing right? The monopoly question, can you monopolize your market? Can you monopolize your industry? The people question, do you have the right people around you in your organization, in your business? The distribution question, are you able to distribute that to clients, to the people that need it at the right time? The durability question, can you be durable over time? Is there opportunities for growth? Can you take the negative press that's going to come with it? Can you take the positive? Can you handle it? How durable is that organization? And then the secret question, and he talks about this secret earlier on in the book. And he says great companies have secrets, specific reasons for success that people don't see. So that chapter was relative to clean energy, to eco-friendly stuff. But those questions can actually be applied to any business. To some degree, they can even be applied to your own personal life as well. If you just remove that word for technology, for business or distribution, whatever. So yeah, I like that, and I think that's something that if you are starting up a company, because this book is for startups, but it's very tech heavy. It's very much about tech, and
obviously, also it's product. It's more product based as well. That's one thing that I didn't necessarily like. Well, I didn't like. It's kind of talking about making a business that is going to make you loads of money. Really, what kind of, it's not talking about following your passion or your dream, within your business, which, I think is, important for businesses to do things that you like. Obviously, if you can grow a business that makes loads of money and then use that money to do your passion, whatever way you want to do it. But this book didn't really focus on service-based businesses. In fact, it actually mentions service-based businesses are really hard to scale, which they are hard to scale on a $1 billion turnover. So yeah, sorry to cut you.
No, it's fine. No, I agree. But I think I don't really know much about Peter Thiel. I didn't even know, only during this book when I realized, this is PayPal, when he said that. So maybe that's his disposition, and that's who the book is targeted at. But yeah, I think, like I said, with these questions here, they can be applied to any business, any startup. They're a good starting position for you to kind of sit back and look at. I mean, that chapter was nice. There was a few others that I'll go through after. But what about yourself?
You touched on secrets. Chapter 8. We're gonna go all over the place with the chapters, but that's fine.
So the book's all over the place anyway.
To be fair, the chapters could have been written in any order. The book didn't flow to a point where it felt like one chapter led to the next chapter, really. But yeah, chapter 8 was about secrets, and it's one of the key things that I liked, the key sentences, was everything was once a secret because we didn't know. You know, you don't know what you don't know, right? And it touched on like school and learning from an early age. If you overachieve and learn something that's not on the test, you won't receive credit for it. And I thought that was very a very good key point, because you know, in school we're taught systems and processes, and we're taught to follow that exact same structure, and if you don't, you won't receive credit for it. Whereas but doing exactly what's asked of you in the tests, you'll get an A. And it was just like a good reminder that like we're trained from a young age to follow processes, to follow systems, to
Can I jump in there quickly?
Yeah, go.
This is where you see the difference between managers and leaders, I think. Yeah. And this is why, so a manager, and you need managers. Manager will come in and follow. So in a work setting now, they will just say, look, here's the rules. I'm just going by the rules. We're going to follow the processes, pass the test. If there was a emergency in the building and let's say a fire exit is blocked, they're not necessarily going to be able to innovate and be like, well, we need to leave through this door. This door's shut. Now there's a problem. Where a leader will be able to innovate and create new systems and build and say, you know what, I know that's what the rule book says, but actually looking at it from this perspective on the ground level, we could do this or do that or whatnot. You know what I mean? So I think this is where the school system, everyone's got an opinion on the school system. You know, I've worked in schools. I work with a lot of schools. You know, I'm not going to go into that, but everyone has their own opinion on whether the school system is flawed, you know, and if it's outdated, which a lot of people would argue that it is. I think that applies to this, because like you said, just because you have knowledge, if it's not on that test, that knowledge is useless in regards to the school system. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. And as well, again, it's like, if you can, how well are you at just regurgitating facts and figures and information and whatnot? You know, it is trying to change, but yeah, I agree with that point.
Yeah, no, 100%. And he also mentions, you know, people are scared of secrets because they don't like to be wrong. Yeah. People are scared of failure. People are scared of being wrong. And I think, like you said, the difference between managers and leaders, a manager wouldn't necessarily want to get something wrong. A leader would take the risk. Okay, cool, yes, I got it wrong. And I think that's the difference between entrepreneurs and you know, people that aren't entrepreneurs. Yeah. Obviously, there are some people that think that way, but I think entrepreneurs aren't scared to be wrong. They try things, fail, learn from the failure, try again, etc., etc. So yeah.
Can I just touch on that chapter as well? They brought up something that I like, and you know, you read these things and it brings back things. The Pareto principle. Okay. Do you remember that? Do you remember that part of it? So the Pareto principle basically is 80-20 rule. So this was, I think, regarding sales, but it applies to anything. So it's regarding, like, even with your with clients or whatever. So 80%, I'll write it down, I'll read it here. So 80%, it's the 80-20 rule. 80% of results come from 20% of the actions. So say you've got 100 clients. Yeah. Most of your revenue, and I think he related it to venture capitalists, and we spoke about this before in prior books. So 80% of their revenue, if we're talking about venture capitalism now, come from 20% of the big fishes, you know, they're 20% of their clients. And the remaining 20% just, you know, it goes the other way. So 80-20 rule. So if you're trying to kind of succeed or progress in something, it's good to remember that, you know, the 80-20 rule. So if you've got a big client, or you're trying to attract a big client, that one client or the 20% of those people you're going for may actually prop up the whole 80% of your business. And then even when I look at it, and it's kind of like a rule that's just, it's like a scientific rule in the sense that it goes across all things. You know, 20% of your efforts will be paid will subsidize the remaining 80% and whatnot. So it's I just thought that was interesting. I've heard about this before. I think it was Brian Tracy. I read, Brian Tracy speaks about this a lot in regards to sales, because then when I was working in sales prior, it just proves itself to be true.
Yeah.
So that was interesting for me. I was like, interesting.
No, I agree. And in fact, I mean, I'm going to jump over two places quickly because it talks about, talks about a chapter of investing, which again felt a little bit random because it's
the book's random, bro.
Yeah, because of
it's just random musings. I bet he didn't even write this. He was just talking, and someone just had a dictaphone. He was just talking, bro.
But yeah, it felt a little bit random. But he talks about, venture capitalists, when they invest in startup companies, they invest in companies that have the potential to massively blow up. So blow up 20 times. But say they invest in 10, they're hoping that one of them blows up 20 times, and the other ones, if they just do okay, then they've doubled their money. So yeah. But I wanted to go back onto the secrets chapter and talk about innovation, because innovation is finding new secrets, finding new truths. And it talks about HP, Hewlett Packard. They kept innovating and growing and building this computer technology. And when they stopped, that's when their business started to decline. And this was a really nice reminder for me, because it's like, it's never going to stop. I'm always going to have to keep innovating, coming up with new webinar content, coming up with new different corporate health programs, etc. And it was just a good reminder to just keep innovating continuously, because otherwise you can fall down. And the maths, they were valued at 135 billion. And when they stopped innovating, they dropped down to 70 billion. And then down to 23 billion. So it's like, that's a massive drop. Drop.
And again, that goes to leadership. If you remember that chapter, that was because they had a new CEO, I think, that wanted to focus on just maintaining, basically.
Yeah.
Remember? And then there was someone else, the innovation department, let's say, there was a bit of a clash there.
Yeah.
If you remember.
Yeah, so, I do remember. Now you said it.
That was interesting. Yeah, it's weird because it always comes down to people. We look at these companies, HP, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Apple in a moment. But you look at these companies and you kind of think, but at the end of the day, it's just people. It's people in a boardroom, or maybe nowadays on Zoom. I mean, it's people in the boardroom just having debates or having conversations and kind of pontificating about, all right, no, we should do it this way, we should do it that way, X, Y, Z. So, and that's it's just people at the end of the day. And we go back to the leaders and managers, and it talks a lot about founders. Later on at the back, it talks about founders, which was an interesting chapter as well. Just a quick correction. That Pareto principle was in chapter 7, Follow the Money, not in the secrets chapter. So just quickly.
Okay.
Don't at me. Yeah. So there was a chapter that I was interested in, was about luck and optimism.
Yes.
No, I think it's called You're Not a Lottery Ticket. And I like this chapter.
Yes, chapter 6.
Chapter 6, yeah. You're not a lottery ticket. So with this part, it was talking about that basically it's not about luck, or you kind of create your own luck, but it's not like good startups require proper planning.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm gonna go randomly off target now, yeah. But me and my friends a few days ago, what day was it? Tuesday. We're talking. I'm not really into films, but they were talking about Star Wars. And I haven't really watched Star Wars. I'm not a Star Wars guy. Is it Star Wars or Star Trek? Obi-Wan Kenobi. Is that Star Wars? Yeah.
Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
See, I don't really know. But the point is, they were talking about that. They had all the films kind of lined up, at least up in the head anyway. But they released the middle 3 before they released the first 3. So let's say they released 3 to 6 first. If you watch films, if you watch Star Wars, you'll be able to correct me if I'm making a few mistakes here. But they released 3, 4, and 5, or 3 to 6. Or 4 to 6 first, because that kind of had the story was built up. Darth Vader was already a character, it was intriguing, it was interesting to get people's interest. Then they released 1 to 3 as like the background story, the origin story.
Yeah.
So that wasn't done by fluke. Look at Star Wars. It's one of the biggest films. If you could argue it's the biggest film ever, like the biggest franchise ever, whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's been going for years, like for decades. So that just goes down to planning. They didn't just think, we'll just randomly release the middle 3 first, and then we'll just release here and here. So I say all that to say, when you're planning a business, you need to plan for growth. You need to plan for all right, next year. And even when you're going to action those goals now, you need to always be thinking ahead. I think that's something we relate to with our businesses. We're always thinking like, all right, cool. When's the next, whether it's innovation or what's the next service we can add, or how can we build on this improvement? How can we improve on this and that? And yes, plans change, but at the end of the day, you still have to have a plan, because otherwise it becomes very random. And I've experienced that in the past, as in like just reacting, because you just get into a point of just reacting like, oh, this has happened, oh, let's react to that. No, you need to have some sort of plan in order to go with. And then even sometimes, I'm not sure if they spoke about that in this book, but you spoke about before in your interviews with the Uber example, where even though you can plan ahead and be like, well, we have to wait for the technology to catch up. So we're going to do this, we're going to plan, we're going to work towards this way, but the technology is not ready yet for that. Hence why we can, but you still got it on the plans. So hence why with Clive, he spoke about the technology wasn't ready for the idea at the time. So it's just, I thought that was very interesting. And it goes down to the thing where you can't just look at someone and say, oh, well, he's lucky. He's lucky. Maybe now in these days of social media virality, or the opportunity for people to go viral, maybe the opportunity for luck has increased a bit. But at the same time, I think if you're planning a startup, you need to plan it. You need to actually plan it. Yeah.
No, 100%. And we may as well go on to Steve Jobs there when we talk about luck as well, because it talks about, Steve Jobs got fired from his own company. And I don't think it mentioned why. Did it mention why?
It didn't. It did toward the end. That was it. He was too radical in the sense of like, he was kind of like, just very radical. They went down like a seat. They were trying to be corporate. And again, they kind of lost that innovation way. I think he used to come in with no shoes on, quite eccentric. So I mean, so he just kind of, the values of the organization or the business changed.
He was a bit wild.
It was a bit wild for them, basically. And then they just decided that they had control. So
just to touch on that quickly, can you imagine growing a business, making it multi-million, billion, whatever, and then getting fired from your own business? That is mad. But I think it's the price you pay once you give away power. Excuse me, you're giving away the power. It's like, God, it reminds me of Wolf of Wall Street, where he's like, I'm not leaving.
Exactly, because he's got the power. He can do that. But it's like, even what film did I watch? I was watching it partly. The film about Gucci. I don't know. It's on Netflix or Amazon. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
But anyway, the Gucci family don't actually own Gucci anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a good film. Like, there's a lot of things that happen, but they gave away the power. They signed over their shares to whoever. So now the Gucci family doesn't even own it. So that's why with Steve Jobs, for whatever reason, whether it's investment or whatnot, I don't know that much about the reasons, but they were able to do that.
But he got fired anyway. Then 12 years later, they rehired him because Apple was stagnant or whatever. They needed some new innovation, and then he come in, boom, iPad, boom, iPhone, whatever. And then obviously he's sadly passed away now. But just they needed that innovation back. And would you say there was a chapter, I can't remember where it was, but would you say that entrepreneurs have a screw loose? I think it was the last chapter, the Founders Paradox.
It was the
Founders Paradox. And it was like entrepreneurs, I can't remember how he phrased it, but the question I'm asking is, do you think entrepreneurs are crazy people? Because I'll go back to another point as well. This is again pretty random. We both know about boxing, and in fact, I was at one of your functions and a couple of your friends were talking about boxers, and they were like, you got to be crazy to do boxing. You got to be crazy to get in a boxing ring. Something's not quite right within your mind. And obviously, I've boxed, you've boxed. I had to jump in the conversation and say, whoa. I don't think I'm crazy. Like I've jumped in the ring a few times. I don't think that I'm crazy, but that was their perception. They still had that perception. They're saying, no, you gotta have something. Do you think the same with entrepreneurs? to, you know, take that risk and rely on yourself for income?
No, I don't actually. I actually don't. I think there's a false narrative, but it's one that is, when you look at these characters, and it speaks about Richard Branson in the book. You look at Elon Musk, so we look at these characters that are like, they seem like, you know, they're eccentric, they're crazy, but I think they're smart enough to lean into that and to kind of, because there's two, and it actually has like a chart, and I think on the chart it's like introvert, where people are very introverted, and that is also alluring. You know, like you've got people that they mysterious.
Yeah.
I mean, so they've got that allure of mystery. Then you've got people that are kind of just in the middle, the average, normal.
Yes. I remember this graph.
No, the graph. And then at the end, it's got like eccentric, you know, like totally out there. I think that most people, bar few, are kind of in the middle, you know, just average, normal. They're a little bit this way and a little bit that way. I think if we're using someone as Richard Branson, for example, because as well they get a lot of media coverage, and Elon Musk, you know, that like Elon Musk uses Twitter as a way to just to get coverage and say something random and get but you don't know when he's mostly just normal when he's with people, you know. He goes on, you know, he does these crazy things, these outlandish things, so it kind of creates an allure. And I think at the end of the day it's just PR. That's what I think. And then as well they're able to kind of go back into their show and just be very quiet. So like on another example on the other side of the spectrum is Microsoft, Bill Gates. It's Bill Gates. So, you know, he's not eccentric and he's not outlandish, and he doesn't jump out of planes like Richard Branson or trying. Do you know what I mean? But also, you know, look at what he's built. You know, he gets a lot of bad press at the moment, but look at what he's built. And now I think he's even known more for like philanthropy than he is known for actually Microsoft anymore. So to answer your question, I don't think so. I think someone might look at you, like they'll look at you and they'll be like, oh, Tyler, like his channel, you know, you're doing your thumbnails and you're in the station, like getting people to record you, and that's a bit like, that's crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a bit mad, isn't it? Like when you look at it like that through that lens, people are like, raw. How's Tyler just going to the station up to when he's going to these places and getting people to record him and da 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 da? Do you know what I mean? Like recording yourself when you're walking down the street, like, you know what you're doing right now. Someone will look at that and be like, yeah, but then, you know, I know you, I've seen you in a situation, you're quite a normal person. Do you know what I mean? But someone might look at you and just think like, you know, so, and then on the other hand, you've got your personal side that you don't necessarily really share that much with people that are not within that doesn't really cater to you. So I mean, so I don't think so, but I think someone would look at you and say like, oh no, Tyler. And even people have said to me, one time I was talking to a friend, and then she asked me to do like a talk for their something. I can't remember what it was. They asked me to do a talk anyway. So I did it, and I was like, "Wow, man, like I'm a bit nervous." And she was like, "What? You don't get nervous? Like, what do you mean?" I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, she's like, "Oh, you love it. Don't be." And all the time, she's like, "Oh, you love it." I'm like, "Do I?" Is that like? But that's just that. So people might say, you know what I mean? It's just that little glimpse, and I think we don't have the coverage that the Elon Musk do, the Richard Bransons do, all those kind of people. But it's the same thing, man. It's the same thing.
I think it's not. I think it's not that we don't feel nerves. We don't feel normal human emotions. We feel exactly the same as most people in most situations. It's just the ability to push through it, and I think that's the difference. No,
I agree, and I think even going back to your boxing analogy, like, you know, when I was boxing, when you was boxing, you know, we've been around pros, like, and the conversation, because I used to think that as well, like, oh, boxers, man, and maybe some of them definitely have a screw loose, but I think definitely there are some boxers, like if you look at like a Chisora, the aura that he puts out anyways, that he's actually got like a screw loose. You know what I mean? But I don't know him personally, so maybe he's just very normal and just very chill. But it seems like that. So what you come to see is that everyone's just quite normal, but then they just choose to kind of go forward with it. Whether that might be, do you know what I mean? So it's interesting. To answer your question, I don't think so.
No, okay. Let's move on to the mechanics of mafia, because this was another chapter I liked, chapter 10. And the reason I liked it was it talked about managing your teams when you've got employees, and it said defining employee roles reduces conflict. So, for example, say you've got an organization, you're all working together to achieve certain things, but it's a bit wishy-washy. They say two people are in charge of sales. Yeah, the same thing. It's like one person might want to do it this way, the other person might want to do it that way. And I thought it said defining employee roles reduces conflicts. Most fights happen when colleagues compete for the same responsibilities. And within their company, I think it was PayPal, when they was building PayPal or X.com or whatever. They started to, I can't remember what company it was, if I'm honest. But when they defined roles for people and gave them exact roles or responsibilities, should I say, it not only helped create a bit more of a structure, but it also helped empower certain people, because now they feel like, oh, I'm responsible for this. And I think even technically, it's a good way to have staff retention, keep staff in the company, because now people feel affiliated or not affiliated, maybe affiliated is
empowered,
but they feel responsible for the company. So even if things aren't going well, they're like, well, this is my responsibility. I've got to make it work. And I did like that. Chapter.
Yeah. No, look, bro, I agree with you 100%. And speaking from experience, and even now, it's obvious. I think it's obvious to me anyway. If you give someone a role and say, this is what you have to, even for me, when I used to work, I like clear boundaries. Like, this is what you need to do. So I know if I'm doing well or if I'm not doing well. If this is my job, if you told me to do these 5 things on this list, as long as I do these 5 things, I've succeeded. It's clear success or failure. Now, if it's me and someone else both trying to do those same things, now there's an issue, because I may want to do it. No way is necessarily right, no way is necessarily wrong. I have my way of doing it, you have your way of doing it. So it's down to the leader, to the boss, to whoever it is, to define the ways it's going to be done. Or if you're giving me that ownership of it, then it's for me to define how. It's about results at the end of the day. Now, conflict will obviously arise. Let's call it, like, they say too many chefs in the kitchen. If you can't have 2 head chefs in the kitchen. Because there's going to be pandemonium, because who's really in charge? Do you see what I mean? Who's in charge? And then who the people beneath them, who do they listen to? If one person says, do it this way, the other person says, do it that way, there's a problem. Do you see what I mean? So no, definitely, man. I think that's always like, that goes without saying for me. I think if you're trying to, and like, again, I remember I used to work for a manager, and he was really good at this. And I didn't only now on reflection, and he was like, say we're talking about something we were going to do, and he'd be like, yeah, you know what, Chris, this is your baby. Anyone that used to work with me for that place will laugh at it, because they'll remember. He'd be like, yeah, that's your baby. Like, basically, just take care of that. That's for you to work. And that's quite empowering. It's very empowering. You know what I mean? So and it gets results. When I've got people that work for me, I'm like, listen, to be fair, I'm all about results. So as long as there was do it your way, and then I'll look in. If the results aren't coming, that's when I'll now go in and be like, all right, we need to put these systems in. That has its pros and cons, but that's kind of the best way, is about empowering. Also, on that chapter, it talks about what does it say? It says startups might be considered slightly less extreme versions of cults. And that was quite interesting, because the word cult is like very like, whoa, do you know what I mean? But and then it says, I think it's better to be referred to as a cult than or a mafia than have no culture within your organization. And I think that's true, man. Like, you want people that work for you to really, really buy into what you're doing. You want them to be passionate about it. You want them to talk about it as though it's theirs, because it is theirs. And I used to, when I was I'm a trustee on a local charity down here in my area, and then one of the previous CEO, she's left now, but we were in like a meeting one time, and she said something really profound. And she was like, because someone was like, oh, do you think your organization is like a family? And then she was like, you know what, no, I wouldn't call it a family. And then, from the offset, that sounds a bit like people might be, because there was people there that worked under her, and they might be a bit affected, because they were referring it as a family. So the people that worked under her were like, oh, we're a family here. And she was like, no, I wouldn't call it a family. I think we're a team. And I was like, ooh, I get it straight away. She was like, we're a team. Obviously, if you've got a sports background, you will understand.
Oh, hold on, you just go mute.
It's like, am I there? Sorry.
Yeah, you're there. Yeah. Say it again. If you've got a supportive background.
If you've got a sporting background.
Oh, sport. Okay.
Sporting background. You will understand that, because I used to play football, used to play rugby. Going back to those defined roles, if I'm playing, I'm a defender. My role is to mark the striker and try and not let the other team score. Very simple. My other person team, and when I get the ball, I give the ball I pass the ball to the midfielder. I've done my job. One of my old coaches used to say to me, was that, Chris, make a tackle, pass the ball to Aman. That's because Aman was the best player on the team. Yeah, so you'll be like, oh, pass the ball to someone else. That's all you got to do. That's all I got in my head. I make a tackle, I pass the ball.
Back technical difficulties. But yeah, you were saying about a team.
Yeah, basically team clear roles, clear defined roles, easy way to distinguish between success and failure. And that's what the lady who was the CEO of the charity, or the former CEO of the charity that I'm a trustee of, she made that very clear, and I understood it straight away. And now I try and imply that with mine. It's like, we're a team, and the team, everyone achieves more. So yeah, man.
Yeah. Do you know, just very quickly before we go on to our difficulty rating and star rating, the chapter, if you build it, they will come. Again, I mean, this book had some.
It says will they come? It's will they come? If you build it. Is it? It's a question. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Check it.
I'm checking out chapter 11.
If you build it, they will come. Chapter 11.
Yeah.
In my head, it's a question.
It's a question.
Do you know, I read it wrong. I read it. See, I read it backwards. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, look at the question mark. It's a question.
Yeah. You know, because I know that saying.
Yeah.
It's like I just automatically read it how I wanted to read it.
Yeah.
If you build it, will they come? Either way, it talks heavily about sales and how important salespeople are in businesses. And it actually talks about how salespeople don't actually get enough credit within their roles, because you've got the people that implement the work and the people that build the systems. But you need someone in the middle to sell. Go on.
Just quickly, I think they do financially. They might not get it. They're proud it financially. Maybe not in the, because it's true. They don't talk about the sales teams when they talk about what you're going to go into it, but they do financially. They get that pat on the
credit.
But
I guess that's if, depending on how the companies are set up, if they've set up with their commission structures, etc. But when they make sales, sales team, they do financially, but I guess they're not. They don't get the accolades then. That they deserve, or most people, if you're on this end or this end, you forget about the sales team. You forget how important they are to bring in that new business and bring it in. And the reason I liked it, because it wasn't just talking about building a good product, having a good service, and you're done and it's fine. Your business is booming. It talks about you really need to get a good sales strategy in place. You really need to get a good sales team, and not neglect sales, because it's all well and good having a good product. And I mean, of course, word of mouth is the best tool, but you still need a sales team, definitely initially, or sales. Or if you've got your own business, you need to be the salesperson to get it out there, get the message out there.
I think with that chapter, what I liked, because he spoke about different type of sales. This was a good chapter, and it talks about different ways of marketing and different ways of because it's true, you can't just build it. That's why it's a question, because the saying is, if you build it, they will come. Debatable, right? So now with this, it's like there's different ways of doing sales. People don't like the word sales. That's why he speaks about people don't in these firms, they don't refer to themselves as sales. It's like account manager, XYZ. Because the word sales has negative connotations. So now I'm not going to go through all the different types of sales that he spoke about, but there was two that I liked, and they're kind of maybe two different ends of the spectrum. So you've got personal sales. Personal sales for these big companies, they can take a long time to get over the line. They can take months. You build up a relationship, go for coffee. That's why they have these salespeople. So they have budgets for taking their clients out for meals, XYZ. But these are for big companies. I've had friends that works for these kind of companies. They're doing all sorts every day on the phone, going out here, emails, a meeting here, a third meeting, a fourth meeting, a pitch come down, see what we're doing, all this kind of stuff. But when that sale lands, that's bringing in anything over, that's bringing a lot of money. You know, do you want hundreds of thousands, if not millions, depending on how big the contract is.
Yeah.
So I mean, so that's why that's a personal side, and it's a personal thing. It's where and again, we go back to people. You know, it's A and B. People buy from, they don't buy products, they buy from that person, because me and you could have two different sales strategies, and the same product, yours is successful, mine isn't, or vice versa, because of that personal relationship. Can you build rapport? When I used to work in sales before, one of my old managers used to be, it's about building rapport, which it is about building rapport, because again, someone could, we spoke about this on a previous book, where someone's upsold me personally, and I've allowed it. I know what they're doing, but you know, I'm like, Ray, I can see what you're doing. I appreciate the way you're doing it, and I appreciate that. I've been in your shoes before. All right, man. It's only a little bit extra. I'll buy that. I'm happy to do that, because again, for that personal. But if you're not a good salesperson, but I actually want the product, I'll just buy the minimum. I won't even buy it for you. I'll buy it from your client, one of your team members. So that's one side, the personal sales. The other side, quickly, which he talks about, is the viral marketing, where the product itself is the sales. And then again, he speaks about PayPal, which I think what they did was sick. And it also reminded me of what Uber did as well. So with the viral marketing, PayPal, I think at first they were like selling. So when you have to have PayPal to, you know, both people have to use PayPal. So if I'm trying to get money from you, you can send me the link. I now have to set up a PayPal account in order to be able to use, you know, in order to receive the money, or vice versa. So that was working okay for them. But then what they realized is they they started to use eBay before I think eBay bought them. But they started using eBay as a way to build themselves. And I think they used power sellers, and then they saw and that was viral marketing, because you know, they sell to you, and they were doing so many transactions over a space of time. Obviously PayPal's taken their commission, and then as eBay grew, and they helped eBay grow, and eBay helped them grow.
And I think they even did like a $10 commission if you refer a friend. They did a referral scheme, refer your friend, and they get $10, you get $10, or something like that. And that helped blow them up as well. No, exactly.
So that was it. So that's all viral marketing. So that's what they did. And obviously look at PayPal now. And then as well, that reminded me of Uber, because I remember when Uber started, before I even knew what Uber was, people were sending me these links. Oh yeah, use this, then you get a discount and I get a discount on my next ride. When Uber first started. And I was like, what is this Uber thing? You know, like, what is this? Everyone's messaging me, trying to get me to use their discount code, XYZ. Again, that's viral marketing, because what you're doing is you're getting the user, the client, to sell for you. What I mean? So I think those are two different ends of the spectrum, because you've got one that's quite quick and frivolous and, you know, ground level, quickly send us link, then the other that can take months and months. But when it lands, we go back to the Pareto principle to some degree. You know, it's a big check. Oh man, do you know what? You just reminded me of some other stuff, but we're running low on time now. Can I just talk about the founder's paradox quickly?
Go on.
Just really quickly, yeah. So the second to last chapter, you know, we've been speaking about, it's about people. I've been saying it, like, it's about people. The founder's paradox, it talks about different types of founders, the eccentrics, the introverts, XYZ. And then, but I think what it said here was another kind of key term, when it's like, founders are important, not because they are the only ones whose work has value, but because a great founder can bring out the best work from everybody in that company. And I think that's what it comes down to. You know, as a founder, as someone who's a startup, are you able to inspire and motivate your team, even when you don't feel like that, even when you feel you're not in the best place, whether it's mentally or whatever. So that is something for me that, you know, because founder, you might look at it and think, oh, I've got to be like Elon Musk, or I've got to be like this person and that person. Your job as a leader, as a founder, as the boss, what you want to call it, is to make sure other people are able to do their job. And you have to be able to motivate them, inspire them, whatever it might be. And that's the job as a founder of a startup.
No, I think that was a good point. And even Stephen Bartlett touches on that as well. But let's I mean, we've actually haven't touched on quite a few other bits as well, but it's worth a read. This book is worth the read, in my opinion. But let's go on to difficulty and star rating. It's worth the read for the gem. Or should I say worth the read? I learned some things in this book. I was reminded of some things. Anyway,
share the link with your friends. Don't recommend this book to no one. We've gone through the top picks.
Go. Yeah, difficulty rating. How difficult was this book? For me, it wasn't that difficult, but because it didn't flow amazingly, I'm gonna give it a 2. A 2. Yeah, a 2. I could say 2.5. I'm gonna give it a 2. Yeah, a 2. I didn't love the flow, but I didn't find it super difficult. 2. Your difficulty rating? What
difficulty, not because of the language that was used or the words, but because of the writing style, and because of the randomness, and because it just seems because it was just very random. I'll give this a 4, man. I struggled to read this book.
Okay.
Like I struggled. It was very hard for me to read this book, even though it wasn't hard, but it was hard. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll give it a 4.
Yeah. Okay. And star rating. Like I said, I'm gonna stick with what I had before this call. This isn't a year of the upvote book. This is a 2.5 to me. 2.5 out of 5. Did I love it? No. Did I get some really good reminders in it, which we've spoken about? And I think even some we haven't spoken about. Yes. So I took value from it, like I have with every book. And when I get a larger team, I think some of the key things I'm going to remember is like defining clear roles and responsibilities, and things like that. Anyway, yourself, star rating.
I'm not going to be swayed by the conversation we had just now about this book, because I actually enjoyed talking about this book more than I enjoyed reading this book. I was on a 1 when I finished the book. I'll now up that to 1.5. I wouldn't recommend this book.
Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't recommend it. I might recommend certain chapters. I wouldn't even recommend a chapter. I would just say, listen, here's the link to the book review me and Tyler did. Just watch that. Or here's my notes. I'll save you the hassle. I'll save you the hassle. But yeah, I'll give it a 1.5, man.
I wonder if people think...
A 1. I'm sorry, 1.
You're going back down to 1.
That 0.5 is just because of the convo we had.
You're going down to 1. I wonder if people think you're harsh. I mean, on the unfair advantage, it was harsh. We had the founders. It's only harsh because they commented.
Nah. That was harsh. Because that was harsh. And
anyway, next month.
But this one is real. 1.
Okay, 1. Okay, next month's book. What are you saying?
Next month's book, The E-Myth Theory Revisited. Excuse the tattered, but this is what you call, this is longevity. This is time in the game. Yeah, Michael E. Gerber. This is a good book. Funny enough, talking about things that we spoke about already, like systems. So I read this book a long time ago. I got it from another book. Like I was reading another book. I forget what it was, and it referenced this book. And it talks about, I won't give that much away, but it talks about just setting up systems, especially for small businesses. I think now, for me, this is something that it's always good to remind yourself. I've read this book at least 2 times, if not 3 times before, but it's a good book, man. And I think for people, Entrepreneur Club, trying to build businesses, it's a good book to read. It's a must read. Yes, a must read.
Yeah. Okay. So like and subscribe, the usual. We've got a backlog of book reviews. You can check them out. They've all given some kind of inspiration or some kind of knowledge or gem. I've taken something away from every single book that I've read. I hope you have too, Mr. Fly. Support the team. Watch the video that's on the screen now. I'm sure you'll like it. Peace and love.